This or that with Ultra Male versus AFNAN's 9pm. Now, AFNAN's 9pm is an obvious clone of Ultra Male. Should you spend more money on Ultra Male? That's what we're going to find out in this video. So the opening of Ultra Male for me is beautiful. It's a really amazing, invigorating, sweet but fresh opening. You have this airy pear note, so it's fruity, but it's a bit airy as well. Then you have mint, which is one of the staple notes in most of the Le Male line. And you have aromatic notes such as lavender, and you have this sage note as well, which I think really balances out the sweetness that is in Ultra Male. The opening for me is brilliant. It's not too sweet or heavy. It sits on the light side. So whilst Ultra Male is a sweet fragrance predominantly, the opening makes this feel much more fresh because of the inclusion of those notes. But when you look at the opening of AFNAN's 9pm, that's where, for me, the most difference comes from. This doesn't have the pear or the mint in the opening. This goes a lot more fruity and sweet straight away. So in general, 9pm is a slightly sweeter fragrance, but the opening is where you really notice the difference because you haven't got pear, you haven't got mint to really balance out that sweetness. This goes into a fruity kind of candy apple-like opening and stays sweet all the way through. So as they dry down, they become a little bit more similar. And as you get into the far dry down, you're going to be about 90% the same. They are very similar. When you spray them on a test strip and you smell them after about 2 or 3 hours, they are very, very similar. You can still see a difference between Ultra Male and 9pm, but no one around you, if you're wearing this out on your skin, nobody around you is going to ever notice a difference. And I think AFNAN's 9pm still smells absolutely fantastic. Now let's get to the important part, the price. The price of 9pm is about £30 for 100ml. It's a very generous price, and to be honest, for that kind of price, you really can't go wrong with this. Performance is great. It's a fragrance that will pull in compliments because it's got that sweet DNA that people really like. And I think overall, it's just you can't go wrong by 9pm. So Ultra Male does sit a bit more expensive. You are going to have to pay a little bit more to get Ultra Male, and you have to decide if the differences are worth it. To me personally, if we're looking just from a budget point of view, probably not. There's no reason why you would buy Ultra Male over 9pm unless you really want that fresh opening I spoke about, and you want just maybe the bottle's nicer, or maybe you just don't want a clone fragrance in general. In terms of how they smell after 2 or 3 hours, there are not many differences. I tested them both for performance on 2 different occasions on 2 different days. On the first day, AFNAN's 9pm performed better. It was on my hand for a longer period of time, and I could pick it up on the test strip. Whereas I tested it today on my hand and on the test strip, and Ultra Male outperformed AFNAN's 9pm. In terms of the concentration, 9pm is an eau de parfum and Ultra Male is an eau de toilette intense, whatever that means. It's an eau de toilette. So I think the performance is going to be quite similar, but today I got better performance with this. Now, you'll wear these 2 similar occasions. For me, they sit on the more youthful side of fragrances. I'm not saying that just because you're older or more mature, you can't wear them. They just have a more youthful vibe because of the sweetness. I think if you look at Le Male is kind of the mature, sophisticated gentleman, whereas Ultra Male is like the younger brother of that man who likes to go partying every weekend. That's the best way I could describe it. But they're both great fragrances. Buy what suits your budget. If you can't afford Ultra Male and you want to just save some money and get something that is basically the same, AFNAN's 9pm is a great deal. Let me know, do you spot any difference between these 2 fragrances?